about immigration, something regarding immigration, I believe. And then apparently she deleted this, so who knows? All right, let's go into Geraldo. I don't care who's this Geraldo guy. Gives her take on Trump and the popular vote. All right, let's see. Let's see what happens.
I thought that it was pretty clear he was going to win, Piers, but the fact that he also won the popular vote, I figured the electoral college and all that without going into the arcane American system to the UK audience. I thought that Trump, in January 6th, really discredited himself to such an extent that he should never, ever be president again. And I thought a lot of Americans agreed with me. I was wrong. He won the electoral college and he won the popular vote resoundingly. It's pretty clear that, and he's even more popular now than he was on election day. So I think that it's pretty clear that Donald Trump has a mandate from the American people to make his America great again agenda happen, Piers.
Just to clarify, Geraldo, no need to apologize to UK audience because we're now a global show. I'm actually broadcasting from Saudi Arabia in Riyadh right now. That's where we are. We have more viewers now to Piers Morgan Uncensored in America than anywhere else in the world. So no need at all to worry about any UK sensibilities, Geraldo. You can be as American as you like.
Okay, dude.
But Geraldo, before I let you go to the other two, Trump has hit the ground ferociously hard this time round. And it looks to me like a guy who, for two reasons, feels he's had a new lease of life. One, quite literally, because he nearly died in an assassination attempt. And in fact, there were two attempts on his life in the space of a few weeks, but one where he was hit on the ear, came half an inch away from death. And secondly, that as a president, he's got another go at it. And he's had 4 years to sit in the wilderness and think about what he got right, what he got wrong. And it seems to me that this time round, fueled by the fact that he survived the assassin's bullet, he's just decided to go for it. And
I'm just gonna skip right here.
from somebody trying to make this all about her, weeping for people, in some cases I've seen rapists and murderers. What is she crying about?
In some cases, like right here in my state, it was a U.S. citizen and veteran, Piers, that was also detained without a warrant at his place of work. So, I mean, if you want to talk about the rapists and criminals that are being detained, but you're just going to not refer to those situations as well, we're not really painting a full picture. And I want to just stop really quickly on
Fact, you know, it's such a deceptive way to phrasing it. I think for the most part, like I said, I've said this multiple times, we can all agree that when it comes to criminals, they can go. But let's not pretend that all the illegal immigrants that exist in America, which are not illegal immigrants because they just came across the border, the majority of them are legal immigrants waiting for the asylum process, waiting for another illegal immigration process, whether they're on a temporary status, whether they are human trafficked here and just waiting deliberation on what's going to happen to them. There's a lot of those people. Majority of them are those people, and the majority of them are not criminals. But the way Piers is going to phrase it is because he's a right-wing shill that has no backbone. So,
emotion that she expressed there, we are traumatizing our society as we speak. We are traumatizing our children. There are kids in my town where I live. My kids are almost 12 and 15 years old, and they ask me every day. My friends want to know when their parents are going to be taken, and will they have to go too? And if they don't go, who will take care of them? There was a video that went around my town last night that children here thought was real of ICE coming and taking kids out of their homes.
Let me ask you. Okay, Jojo, let me ask you. So do you believe then that it is entirely correct and proper that illegal immigrants who've entered the country illegally and are then criminals who've broken the law, that they should be allowed to stay? And what about the million people who've already been processed for deportation?
Everyone agrees that we shouldn't have criminals. You're characterizing it like most of them are criminals. That's the problem.
Under the Biden
Common
administration,
sense,
but weren't actually
Piers.
deported. Would you
I
keep
know
them
it's
as well?
tough.
In other words, for you, is there no limit to what people can do? They can come in illegally, they can break the law with impunity, they can be processed for deportation,
Never
but
said
still
that.
you want to keep them.
Nobody just said
What are you
that.
saying? It's important to clarify.
Well, I never said that, but I never
She
said that at
was
all.
very
In fact,
clear
I
what
will
she
say that,
said.
first
Piers,
of all,
stop
my
being a
father was an immigrant,
bot.
came here lawfully from Lebanon, worked for 50 years for the Department of Defense, believed in the shining city on a hill. I would also say that if we're going to have that conversation, I believe that, by the way, there's much reform to be made to the immigration process in this country. If I were an expert on that, I'd have a very different job. I'm not. I will say that it needs to be done and needs to be addressed. But if we're going to have the conversation about consequences and rule of law, then we need to have that conversation about somebody sitting on your panel right now who was a January 6th insurrectionist and was pardoned for his crimes. So if you're going to thread the needle on what is acceptable in terms of allowing crime and what is not acceptable in terms of allowing crime or forgivable in terms of allowing crime because of the color of someone's skin or the status of their citizenship, then I don't think this is a conversation about the rule of law at all.
Okay, but just to be clear, because you haven't answered the question, would you let illegal immigrants who break the law
Do I think that people
stay
should
in
be able to?
America?
No, I don't. I don't think anyone should be able to.
Here, stop being a bot. Nobody thinks illegal immigrants that are criminals should stay in the country. Nobody thinks that. No one. Nobody. We're talking about the ones waiting for application or the ones here for other legal reasons, or those people are who we're talking about who are still qualified as illegal, who are not criminals, who are getting unfairly deported. Now, if their asylum application got rejected, then yeah, send them across the border. I'm not going to lose any sleep. But if they're waiting for the process, which is a process that is broken, then that's not fair to them because they didn't get their fair process, basically, simply. Come on now. Piers, stop being a bot. Come on, log in.
Country and have no consequences for it. I do think that there are other ways to handle immigration rather than rounding people up in their elementary schools or going to their places of work or showing up at the groves where they're picking the citrus fruit that none of us will pick. And so that whole thing is we don't even have the citrus crops we used to have because no one will pick it. Do I think that they should be able to commit crimes willy-nilly? No, I don't think anybody in this country should be able to do that. But do I think dehumanizing them by putting it on TV with Dr. effing Phil is the way to do it? No, we've seen this playbook before, Piers. Everyone on this panel knows we've seen this playbook before. This is how you dehumanize people so that you can get the path towards atrocity.
Okay,
and I'm not on board with that.
Let me ask you my favorite. All right, before I go to Brandon to respond, you know my favorite question for my liberal friends is who was the biggest deporter of them all? Who deported more illegal immigrants than any president in history, pro rata, per year?
You're going to say Barack Obama, right? You're going to say Barack Obama.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying it for any reason other than it is Barack Obama. He deported over 3 million illegal immigrants in 8 years.
Did he have Dr. Phil do it on TV?
I don't really care whether Dr. Phil's there or not. My point is.
Deportations aren't a bad thing. Deportations without due process is a bad thing. That's the difference. If a lot of people try to come in the country and they're just rejected, then they should go. Throw them all out. I don't care. But if they don't get the opportunity to go through the process, just like the new bill that says if you're accused of stealing, you can get thrown out, and just like the idea that people are getting taken in without any other than getting taken in while they wait for the process, so they're not even getting a chance for their asylum applications to get put. That's the problem. Now, if there are situations, and you can prove it to me, that Barack Obama was doing the same exact thing as Donald Trump, dehumanizing illegal immigrants, blaming them for everything that is wrong in the country, and not allowing them get to due process in terms of the immigration process, then yeah, Obama deserves just as much criticism. 100%. And I'm fine if you criticize him. That's the difference between me and you, Piers. I have a backbone and I adhere to what I believe. You just believe in anything MAGA says because you're a coward and they make you money. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Great. Like the greatest deporter of all, the man who earned the moniker of deporter-in-chief in Mexico, was actually a Democrat president, Barack Obama. And I don't remember people like you screaming about how inhumane it all was when that was going on. In fact, most liberals I know have no idea, A, that he deported 3 million people, or B, that he was the deporter-in-chief.
Why?
Anyway, I mean,
because he didn't turn it into a reality show, Piers. He basically wasn't.
No, stop being a bot. Jesus. No, I already explained it. And also, Joe Biden has a lot of deportation numbers too. Matter of fact, Joe Biden and Donald Trump's deportation numbers, especially around the end of Joe Biden's term, are relatively similar to Donald Trump's deportation numbers. So it's not about deportations. But he has the smug smile because he thinks he's correct.
Because he didn't make it into a prop and cops and reality TV. It wasn't the Hunger Games or Running Man. That's why. You don't think this is dehumanizing them, Piers? Do you support them? Let me ask you a question, Piers. Do you support them being dehumanized?
I think when you say, I don't agree with anyone being dehumanized, but I do agree with illegal immigrants
That's what's happening, is it not?
in any country being thrown out. Yeah, because by the way, I have to.
Nobody disagrees. Stop bringing it up. You're being stupid on purpose. Stop bringing it up. Nobody disagrees with you. Nobody thinks criminals that are illegal immigrants should be in the country. Nobody. Stop bringing it up. That you keep on trying to reinforce a point that nobody disagrees with. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting.
Very vigorous process. Well, unfortunately for you, I ask the questions. But my point is that people like me who want to work in America or live in America have to go through a very laborious legal process. Everyone knows that. And when we ultimately get our visas, we're called illegal aliens. So, when it comes to dehumanizing, you can sort the language out on that to start with. Let me go to Brandon. I mean, it was interesting there that Jojo, she's so far whacked Araldo ad hominem, and she's gone for you as well. Just to remind people who may not know, what was your crime for which you were convicted on January 6th?
Right. Well, a few points that I think are important to let your audience know. Number one, I never entered the Capitol on January 6th. I stood outside of the east side of the building for 8 minutes shooting a video. I didn't engage in any violence, vandalism, theft, or destruction, nor did I witness any violence, vandalism, theft, or destruction. Nobody was riding on the side of the building that I was on. I stood outside of the building for 8 minutes shooting a video of people walking through the open doors of the Capitol, and then I uploaded that video to Twitter. And because of that, 2.5 weeks later, I was raided by the FBI, put in handcuffs, and taken to jail and charged with numerous felony charges by the Biden DOJ, and ultimately took a misdemeanor plea deal. I'd love to ask JoJo why she's so traumatized by people who come into our country illegally who get removed, but not so traumatized when people who trespass on the Capitol grounds are raided by the FBI and thrown in jail.
Yeah, I don't believe his characterization at all. Now, if it was proven, because MAGA tends to lie a lot, if it's proven that he was unjustly detained and that there was not a bigger charge to it, then yeah, that's unfair and he deserves justice. But if it's the case where he's mischaracterizing everything, lying, and trying to frame himself in the best light, and Piers Morgan is abiding by that because Piers Morgan is a coward, then this is incomparable.
Why are those raids not upsetting to you?
Yeah, good
Are
question,
you
Jojo.
actually asking me a question?
Yeah.
Let me just tell you,
Yeah,
Brandon, first of all, I'll ask you a question. Didn't you participate with the Department of Justice to give them information on other people who were there and attacked the Capitol on January 6th, and then you tried to walk that back and
No.
said, well, actually, that's not what I said, until you're chastised by a judge who said, which is it, because you're getting into a little bit of a problem here where you look like you lied in your plea deal? You didn't do that? You didn't cooperate with them at all?
So I sat down with the DOJ, as every person who took a plea deal did. That was a requirement of every January 6th defendant who got a plea deal. The difference is I happen to be somebody who was well known before January 6th, so the media had a vested interest in trying to destroy my name and reputation. So they leaked my documents to the media, but what the document showed was that nobody that I was asked questions about was ever accused of a crime, charged with a crime, or convicted of a crime. So I think to be able to inform on someone, you need to actually help somebody get charged or convicted. None of the people I was asked questions about were ever charged or convicted with a crime.
And then,
Interesting.
and then a
Let me ask you
representative
about-
of yours was
Well, hang on, hang
chastised in court.
So you did
Hang
help
on,
give
Jojo, I'm
names.
going to move to Arado.
Yeah, my
On
judge is a
January
lunatic.
6th,
Correct. My judge is a lunatic.
Okay,
So you
Arado,
did help give
um,
names, and your
hang
judge
on,
is a
let me get to
lunatic.
Arado.
Okay,
Arado, on
gotcha.
January 6th and the pardons, I got to say, I'm more in the JD Vance camp. I thought it was absolutely fine to pardon all the peaceful protesters, including our panelist today, Brandon. I think a lot of them have served quite lengthy prison sentences, probably longer than they would have done had they been doing a similar kind of protest somewhere else. But the ones who were violent towards police, I had a big problem with them being pardoned in the way that they were. Did you?
Well, I think that's a middle of the road position. I have no problem with it, Piers. I think that there is a difference between protesters who were peaceful and those who destroyed the building, or especially those who assaulted cops. But I am less offended by it than you might expect, because I think that the whole pardon process is outrageous. It dates back to the days, with due respect, of the monarchy, where the monarch could do whatever the monarch wanted. And I think when we, without
good old
common
days
law,
are
and
out there.
later, the good old days before 1776, and then after, we adopted that that power for our monarch, our president, and gave him almost, he, or she, presumably someday she, had the power to do whatever they wanted when it came to pardon. They had absolute power, unlimited power. The fact that Trump pardoned them all, I think, was rash. I don't think it helped his personal standing, his reputation. But he did it, and he had the absolute constitutional power to do it. No one denies that. I think that it is unfortunate. I do want, if I may, Pierce, to talk about these raids, because we had a raid here in the neighborhood, here in Cleveland, Ohio, where the Mexican restaurant in the neighborhood, 3 people, we are told by our neighbors, were summarily arrested by ICE last night. I think that these are real. And I also think this about these raids in the current, this phase of war on illegal aliens, undocumented immigrants. This is the easy part. The easy part is the people that you described in your opening monologue, the heinous criminals, the violent people, the rapists, the murderers, and so forth. Those are the easy ones. The ICE knows where they are. Largely, many of them have monitors. They're going to be scooped up and they're going to be taken away. And whether they go in handcuffs or not is not my concern. What I'm concerned about is the babysitters and the house cleaners and the fruit pickers. I wrote a couple of books about immigration and how it is I think the strength of the American Republic, that we have these broad shoulders when so many European countries are losing population. I'm distressed by it. I think that it is, but it is what America voted for. Sadly, I voted for Kamala Harris, but the people that voted for Donald Trump largely did it either because of transsexual and transgender and that kind of progressive woke stuff. And the other issue was undocumented immigration, and it struck a chord with the American people, the majority of the American people. Not with me, but I'm not in the majority. Certainly not on this particular issue. And I think that the worst is yet to come. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to get horrible when they start taking little screaming Jose and Maria out of 3rd grade to be with their parents and their classmates to see it and are traumatized by it. I think it's going to be there's going to be hell to pay. Even if there's not hell to pay, I think it'll be a scar in our national psyche, and I lament it. But I understand it is what America voted for. When they voted for Trump, they gave him the pardon power. I hope this gentleman takes advantage of this the second chance he's gotten in his life and makes the best of it.
I hate how he sits, but I appreciate his speaking out. Hey, who sits? I don't know who you're referring to.
I
the
did not
problem I
vote
have
for
with the
Donald Trump,
pardon-
and I broke off my friendship with him because of January 6th.
Yeah, I was very scathing about him on January 6th, but I'm friendly with him again. And it's been a remarkable thing to watch his comeback. Jojo, I want to talk about DEI. seems to me now to be DIA or DOA, isn't it? Dead on arrival. Because Pete Hegseth, the new defense secretary, has immediately ordered that all DEI stuff be removed from the Pentagon.
Like he sits sideways. I was being
military.
literal.
Most Americans I've spoken to bang up for this. They think it was ridiculous it ever got woked up in the first place.
Oh,
Do you think that along with DEI, that woke is dead? It's over for the wokies?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to talk about, just to pick up on something Geraldo said about the pardon. I agree with him 100% that Donald Trump was well within his constitutional right to do whatever he wanted with the pardon. I think we should find a way to reform the pardon in this country. I don't believe we should have a monarch who has any power that is uncheckable. I think, again, Joe Biden was roundly criticized for his choices to pardon.
I agree. I don't like the pardons. I don't like the pardon process at all, to be honest. And I already criticized Joe Biden's pardons. I didn't think he should do it. He should have done his pardons, to be honest. I understood why he did it. I still don't like it.
The people that he did, but ironically, again, he was well within his constitutional right to do that. And in Donald Trump's case, just because you can does not mean you should. And pardoning those people who did beat our police officers that day, some of which are my very good friends, pardoning them sends the wrong message to everyone in the country. And I just also wanted to say, in terms of what the American people voted, I'm sorry, in terms of what the American people voted for, I'm sorry, when you're done interrupting, I'm going to continue to say what I was saying. You're going to talk over me. I'm from New Jersey, sir. I have been talked over, believe me. Piers, what I was saying in terms of what the American people voted for after the events of January 6th, I was saying something. I mean, I'm not surprised at all that you have no regard for those. Of course, he's just going to talk over me. I was talking.
All right, can you both stop talking, because nobody can understand a word you're saying. So let's just, Brandon, I will come to you to respond. Let Jojo finish her point.
Thank you.
Yes, and then I'll come to Brandon.
Thank you very much.
But please don't answer. Please don't
really,
talk over each other. Nobody can hear you. Yeah, when you talk over each other, it's very pleasing for both of you, but nobody else. So Jojo, finish your point.
Thank you very much, because that's exactly what I was doing. I just wanted to pick up on something Geraldo said in terms of what the American people voted for when they voted for Donald Trump as it pertains to the January 6th pardons. And they did not actually support pardoning the most violent insurrectionists that day. Overwhelmingly, they said that they didn't want that. There was, a spectrum related to those who, like the guy who did the cosplay and the cage thing as a January 6th inmate thing, that guy, there was some debate over whether those people should be pardoned.
Jojo,
the American people didn't vote for that, Piers. They didn't vote for this pardon.
So she gets interrupted. Okay. Then they go back and forth. Then she's trying to finish. And then 10 seconds into her soliloquy, because she's criticizing MAGA, he interrupts her and says, "We don't have time." Because we all know why he did that. Do I got to explain? We all know why. Because say it with me, he's a coward. Yep. You got it right. Absolute coward. He has to shill for MAGA. Too much MAGA hate will make his viewers upset.
Has done what only one president in history has ever done, and that was.
Why are we talking about Joe Biden when we're talking about pardons? Why are we talking about Joe Biden when we're talking about pardons? See, he never wants to stick onto the MAGA. He has to add the heat for the left because his MAGA supporters won't be happy. Won't be happy. Hey, man. He's a true YouTube content creator. He does exactly what the algorithm wants. I could do the same thing. Like, I'll be honest. The easiest way for me to make so much money is to make content that shills to Donald Trump. Now, I would get so much views if I just praised Donald Trump and crapped on the left. Like, the market to crap on the left and praise Trump is so freaking huge. But I'm not Piers Morgan. So I won't do it. If Donald Trump does something that I agree with, I will praise it. If Donald Trump does something I disagree with, I'm going to criticize it. I'm not going to change based off attention and views and moolah. I'm going to adhere to the value system that I believe in, that I do think is correct, and that I do think has logical foundings too, as well.
Once. Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon preemptively, right? He gave him a preemptive full pardon for any more crimes that may come out. Joe Biden's done it for half his family, for a bunch of other people. He's given them all preemptive get out of jail free cards. We don't even know what the potential crimes might have been in the case of his family members. He's so desperate to preemptively pardon. So my point being.
Your point being, I have to defend Donald Trump because he's my daddy. He's my daddy. All right, let's.
Our fringe players, they did their time. Forget about them. Trump did something we don't agree in terms of the ethics of it, but we do agree with the legality and the constitutionality of it. He was well within his rights. Okay. Let's move on as a country. Let's heal.
It's just good to see your presidents all behaving like a good old-fashioned British king, Geraldo.
let's heal. How can we heal from this? If he keeps on just if he does something terrible and then we look at it and then go like, well, it's Donald Trump. Let's move on. Then he's gonna keep on doing it. It's the same logic as like dealing with a 5-year-old. You gotta nip it in the bud early, or else it's gonna they're gonna keep on doing it.
Great to see you all. Thank you very much indeed. Lara Trump, the daughter-in-law of President Trump, recently announced she'd no longer pursue a political career in the Senate, despite mounting
He
speculation.
brought on Laura Trump. I'm not watching that. Well, that's all we got for that. Let's watch.
That she may replace Mark.
Let's watch one more video.